If being a sanctuary city means that we value taking care of one another and welcoming refugees and immigrants, then I welcome the title.
That might be a problem. Now 2 people in Colorado are dead because Denver released criminal illegal aliens that ICE wanted held. We'll break the story for you nationally tonight.
When they realize the slippery slope they're on, away from bedrock conservative principles, I think things will change.
George Will, now seen on some liberal networks, says conservatives will turn on President Trump. What does Lou Dobbs think about that? Also ahead, Miller, worried about drones coming to your house.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Caution. You are about to enter the No Spin Zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The intense debate over illegal immigration continues, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. New survey from Harvard conducted by the Harris Poll, printed in the Hill newspaper. Kind of shocking. One caveat, this is an internet poll, which we usually do not reference for hard news reporting here. So please maintain some skepticism. The poll asked, do you believe cities that arrest illegal immigrants for crimes should be required to turn them over to immigration authorities? Astounding 80% say yes, 20% say no. But on the question of a border wall, it's different. Do you support or oppose a wall? 53% oppose, 47% support. Next question, do you support the executive order that suspends the U.S. refugee program for 120 days? 53% support, 47% oppose. Then finally, the United States is supposed to accept 100,000 Syrian refugees this year. Should that number be higher, lower, or the same? 51% lower, 34% the same, 15% higher. If the polling is accurate, the Harvard survey is a stunning rebuke to the liberal sanctuary city movement. Talking Points does believe most Americans oppose sanctuary cities, but 80%? I simply don't know. Now, the reason most Americans do not want local jurisdictions creating federal anarchy can be spotlighted in Denver County, Colorado. Federal authorities say that 27-year-old Norlin Estrada Reyes, who had a number of run-ins with the law, was released by the Denver County Sheriff's Office despite ICE asking that he be held. Reyes is a Honduran citizen in this country illegally. So what happened after his release? Reyes allegedly struck 28-year-old Karina Pulek with his car, dragging her 50 feet and killing her. Then he fled. He's now charged with multiple felonies. Also in Denver County, another horror. 19-year-old Ever Valles, an illegal alien from Mexico and a known gang member, was again released by the Denver County Sheriff's Office despite ICE asking that he be held. So what happened? February 7th, Valles and another man shot 32-year-old Tim Cruz to death at a light rail station. Both men have now been charged with murder.
We wanted to ask Denver Sheriff Patrick Furman why his department failed to notify ICE when Valles was booked for murder when it had already notified the feds about the stolen car arrest. But Furman declined an interview. In a statement, the Sheriff's Department says, Denver has never and will never condone dangerous or violent individuals being on our streets, immigrants or not. However, detaining anyone without a criminal warrant is a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
The Sheriff Patrick Furman is full of it. It's bull. There's no violation of the law holding someone for the federal government. None. It's done all the time. The sheriff upholds the sanctuary city mantra, as does the mayor of the city of Denver, Michael Hancock. In my opinion, both men have blood on their hands. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction from inside Mexico about all the immigration stuff. As you may know, the Trump administration is cracking down hard on illegal alien criminals and will construct a border wall. So how are the folks south of the border processing that? Joining us now from Los Angeles, Giselle Fernandez, a Mexican-American journalist, and here in New York City, syndicated columnist Ruben Everett. So, Ms. Fernandez, let's begin with Mexicans in general. We have to generalize now. All right? Are they angry about the criminal illegal aliens being targeted in the United States for deportment back to Mexico, many of them? Are they angry about that?
They're angry and they're protesting this in the streets twice this week in Mexico City over Trump's ramped up negative narrative against Mexican immigrants, legal and undocumented. And I think that ratcheted up diatribe, especially on the eve of sending your Homeland Security chief and Secretary of State to ease tensions, is quite awkward when our tensions are already so unraveled.
All right, but you avoided the word criminal illegal aliens, which is the targeting of the Trump administration at this point. Did you do that on purpose?
No, I don't call them aliens, Bill. I call them undocumented residents. We have,
the word I'm trying to get to, Giselle, is criminal. Now, did you purposely leave that out?
No, but I think that we categorize a community as criminal, and I think it's a false way to categorize. No, I do.
We're talking about convicted felons in this country being deported out. You don't want to engage on that subject?
No, I do. I think that you mentioned a Harvard-Harris poll. That poll says that 80% of Americans actually support the deportation of criminal residents, undocumented, who are here in this country. Of course, who would be against that? But what defines criminal? Is it an expired visa?
How about a convicted felony? Because that is the order that ICE are under right now.
I don't think Mexicans oppose that.
Well,
I don't think Mexicans oppose that. I think
we're not seeing any voices of support from Mexico. If you can point to one, I'd be interested to hear it.
Well, Bill, if you can take a look at the overall situation, we had a President-elect Trump who was campaigning on calling all Mexicans criminals, rapists, murderers.
That's your interpretation, but he would differ on that. And I did the interview where he said that.
He said 2 to 3 million undocumented residents from Mexico are here that are criminals, and that number was never justified.
Giselle, there are 950,000 illegal aliens, whether you like the term or not, that have deportation orders out against them. And the Trump administration is going to try to get them out of the country. Now let's go to Ruben. The Mexican people, can they delineate between chambermaids and agricultural workers, farm workers, and the guys we just talked about in Denver? Can they see the difference?
I think they can to some degree, Bill, but the bigger problem is the Trump administration may not be able to see the difference. Just in the last 72 hours or so, you've seen the administration sort of blur the line on what makes for a criminal, and now they seem to be saying that if you're in the country without documents, you're a criminal because you've broken a criminal law.
I haven't heard that at all. I mean, and the roundup that took place last week was 75% convicted felons, and the others all had outstanding warrants of deportations. So I didn't say, all right, now let's talk about the wall, all right? So the wall is going to go up, and the Mexican people, do you believe they oppose that wall?
They do. They oppose the wall. Interestingly enough, there's a big gap between Mexican Americans, like Giselle and I on the one hand, and Mexicans. It's just like Irish Americans versus the folks who live in Ireland. You know, it's a different community of people. Mexican Americans are ambivalent about the wall. It's not at the top of our list, but Mexicans really take offense to it. They see it as an insult, as if you're saying somehow.
How can they see it as an insult when they know, because there's a free press in Mexico, that the drug cartels are pouring tons of narcotics into America, and this wall may help stem that? Why would they be insulted?
Well, they're insulted because
I'll get to you, Giselle, in a minute. Go ahead.
I think that for the same reason the poll showed some skepticism from Americans. They don't think the wall is going to stop the drug cartels because they know cartels have built these sophisticated tunnels underneath the wall.
But you got to try. Go ahead, Giselle. You say?
I was going to say that, I think it's ironic that we're trying to build a Berlin-style wall when we sent a Republican president to the Brandenburg Gate to say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall.
We all know that the Mexican drug cartels are causing an enormous problem inside the United States with the heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine. The wall is designed to try to stem that problem. Why would Mexican citizens object to that?
Well, for the number one reason, we had a president who demanded that another leader of a sovereign nation pay for it. It was very undignified. It was very undiplomatic.
But is Mexico not responsible for controlling these drug cartels?
It was very insulting. I think the way you frame this, Bill, is long partisan lines, and that's what I take offense to. And let me tell you why, because I think it's reflective of why Mexicans also take great offense. We're talking about, first of all, an assumption that there's all these Mexicans who are crossing the border, which has not been the case. In fact, there's reverse migration, as you know.
I'd like to stay on the cartels, Giselle, if you would. This is the big problem here. Stay on the cartels. The Mexican government cannot control the drug cartels. We all know that. Established fact. In fact, the cartels are gunning down Mexican journalists like crazy, and politicians. So we on the American side say we don't want all these narcotics, and we hope the wall is going to stop some of it. Yet you object to the wall?
No, I think that Mexicans reject the idea of a Berlin-style wall.
It doesn't matter
and they do
what
not
style
think,
wall it is.
They do not think
the drugs are coming from cartels inside of Mexico
and the
that your
U.S.
government can't control.
And U.S. consumption is driving
All
that.
right, so it's a
purchase.
consumption problem.
It's
not
a consumption
a Mexican problem.
We also have guns going more south than we have Mexicans coming
it's not
to
Mexico's
us.
problem.
No, it is. It's our problem
wait,
together.
That's it, Ruben. I am running out of time, but we'll have you
doesn't-
both back.
Mexico doesn't see this as its problem. It's an American consumption problem.
Okay,
as Giselle
so
said.
Mexican don't see violent drug cartels smuggling drugs into
Right.
Mexico, killing Mexicans at a record rate as a problem.
Because when they stop the drugs start going to the U.S., they start staying in Mexico, and the Mexicans become addicted to the drugs. This has already been tried, and the Mexicans don't
So
like
they
it.
want the drugs to come into the USA
Let's
and
say
not be in Mexico.
Let's say they don't want the drugs staying in Mexico.
They don't really want to solve the problem, because if they did, the Mexican would have solved it. But that was a really good debate, and I hope you guys will come back, because we really want to figure out what's going on in Mexico as far as the wall, the cartels, and the immigration. Thank you both. Next on the rundown, we'll take you back to Seattle, where another illegal alien is being held by ICE. This man's story has aroused the left. The whole thing's fascinating. We have some new information. Then later, has it gone too far disrespecting the President of the United States? Bowling and Rivera will debate that up ahead.
Your wallet.
Back to follow segment tonight. ICE officials in Seattle are still holding 23-year-old Daniel Ramirez Medina, saying he's a suspected gang member and a possible threat to public security. Some on the left believe that Mr. Ramirez Medina is a victim of the Trump administration's overzealous immigration program. And there have been demonstrations.
Free Daniel now! Free Daniel now!
Free Daniel! Free Daniel! Free Daniel! Free Daniel!
I think she wants Daniel freed. The case is complicated by Ramirez Medina's father, who apparently defied deportation 8 times, is a convicted drug dealer who has served a year in prison. Yet, he was still in the USA last week when rounded up with his son. Joining us from Seattle, Fox News correspondent Dan Springer is covering the story for us. All right, let's walk through this now. We don't know where the father is, right? He was deported 8 times. Where is he? I thought
we know where he's at now. He's at the Tacoma Detention Center, the Northwest Detention Center run by ICE, and he is awaiting prosecution on coming back into the country illegally after being deported, as you mentioned, 8 times, and he's also set for deportation as well.
Okay.
So he's at the same detention center as his son.
So they're both in the same place at Tacoma. The son is just basically rounded up because he is an illegal alien, but he is covered by DACA, by President Obama's mandate that if you were brought here by your father or mother and you were a kid, you could stay and work. Did he have a job?
He did not have a job. He was rounded up actually in an ICE action that was going after Antonio, his father. So they were going after Antonio. They had information that he was back in the country illegally after being deported, and they were going after the dad. When they went inside the house, they were allowed inside, and when they saw Daniel, they asked him if he was in the country legally. He said he was here illegally. They asked him if he had ever been arrested. He said yes. And then they asked him about any gang affiliation, and he said not no more. That he left California to get away from the Sureños who he used to hang with, and that he currently hangs out with paisas in Washington State. That was enough to establish in the minds of the ICE agents to take him to...
That's a Hispanic gang.
Yeah.
So they were living in the same house, father, son, right? ICE agents go in, arrest the father. He's in big trouble. Son's covered by DACA. But if he's a gang, if he has a gang affiliation, that DACA thing goes up in smoke. The tattoo, is that a gang tattoo?
Well, that's a good question, and we've asked a lot of gang experts, and basically what I'm hearing is that the colors of the tattoo are the key. That star, that nautical star, has blue in it. That could be meaning that he was in the Sureños gang. The BCS, Baja California Sur, where he said that's where he's from in California, where he lived for his first 10 years, but it also could be Baja California Sureños. And
all right, so they don't know definitively, but ICE is still saying they believe he's affiliated with gangs. So let's recap.
All they have to have is a suspicion, right?
Okay. No job. Were they getting government benefits? Do we know if they're getting government benefits? I'm wondering how they were living, how the father and son were living. They didn't have jobs. Neither of them had jobs. So how were they living?
Father and son were living with Daniel's brother, who apparently did have a job, was living up in a working-class suburb called Des Moines, which is just south of Seattle. The brother had moved up here in 2016. The brother was there at the time of the arrest also, and he said he's legal, meaning, you know, the brother said, I'm legal, so you can't take me. But they did take Daniel and the father.
It's possible
but as far as how much money he's making, we have no idea.
All right, it's possible that the brother was supporting the father and the other brother. Yeah. It's possible, I guess. All right, so right now the two are in custody in Tacoma. And we'll stay on the story. And if you get any more about the gang affiliation, that's the key to the son. Yeah. If the son doesn't have a gang affiliation, he is under the DACA thing, even though he doesn't have a job. All right, Dan, we appreciate it. Next on the rundown, George Will says he's conservative, but is appearing on liberal networks saying the right will soon turn against President Trump. Lou Dobbs has some thoughts on that. Then an outrageous story out of Massachusetts. A program where police interact with school kids has been stopped. Where do you as well? Columnist George Will, who says he's a conservative guy, is appearing on some liberal TV network saying conservatives will soon turn against Mr. Trump.
When they realize all that you embrace when you embrace protectionism, enormous executive discretion, government planning, essentially, what we can consume and how the economy will work and who shall be winners and who shall be losers. When they realize the slippery slope they're on, away from bedrock conservative principles, I think the things will change by midsummer.
Here now to react, Fox Business Network star Lou Dobbs. So we know Mr. Will is an anti-Trump guy. He left the Republican Party, or said he did, because of the president's candidacy. But he's coming at it from an economic point of view there.
He seems to be, but it's unclear what the causal relationship is. There are no facts. He didn't talk about a specific policy in point of fact. He talks about this vague impression he has of Donald Trump. Doesn't mention the fact that Donald Trump is responsible, in my judgment, for $2.9 trillion in appreciation in the stock market since the election day. That's a pretty strong statement of faith, and it's not picking winners and losers. It's making winners of everyone investing.
Well, he doesn't like the trade deals. He thinks there's going to be trade wars.
He calls it protectionism to be rational, to insist that those trade deals, as the president says, be reciprocal, be mutual, be fair, rather than, quote unquote, free.
Do you think that there's any validity to Will's argument, or is it all personal? I just want to get Trump.
It seems to be absolute animus. He is speaking as if they are arch rivals, that this is a blood feud, one in which, by the way, the president, to his credit, is not participating. Will, a once venerable columnist, essayist, is right now on a personal jihad.
There are the conservatives, though, who believe that Trump is not a conservative guy and is going to be way too intrusive in his executive orders and his vision of how the country should be run.
But isn't it interesting that these so-called conservatives are perspective in their complaint? Nothing that he's done in the first month, 24 executive actions, memoranda, executive orders, nothing in all of that achievement would suggest anything that they're claiming. This president right now is securing borders. He is talking about the value of our sovereignty. He is talking about freedom for our citizens. You can't be more conservative than Donald Trump has exhibited himself to be in only 30 days.
Were you surprised that some on the right did not go to the Trump candidacy, did not support him, and still don't to this day? Did that surprise you?
It did on this basis, really, more than anything else. When you've got 17 candidates running for the nomination, you will see that division. What I have never encountered is this kind of animosity, venom, and bile that still resides within the Republican Party against a president who is already demonstrating himself to be an achiever, to be a man of action, and to be doing precisely what he promised he would do.
You don't think that the right by summertime is going to turn against Donald Trump?
No, and it's interesting that George Will made that claim about 11 hours after Senator Chuck Schumer had done the same thing on The View.
Ooh, you think there's a conspiracy?
I don't know, but if it is, it's a left-wing conspiracy.
Maybe Will and Chucky and the View ladies are meeting in a basement somewhere.
What a band of renegades.
Right.
All right.
Okay, so what we're going to say today. I don't think so. Lou Dobbs, everybody, there he is. Plenty more ahead. Factor moves along this evening. Dennis Miller concerned that drones may be coming to your house soon. But next, why did a Massachusetts school stop police from friendly interactions with the kids?
I think the police department wants to be a part of the community, and they are a part of the community. Pulling them away from the community, I don't think is a good thing.
An outrageous story, and we hope you stay tuned for those reports. Story segment tonight. Beginning last December, police in Northampton, Massachusetts, in the center of the state, greeted some students in that town with high fives every Friday. Program is designed to allow kids and cops to become friendly. But as Fox News correspondent Rob Schmidt reports, that program has now been stopped.
High Five Fridays at schools in Northampton, Massachusetts allowed police officers to welcome elementary-age kids to school every Friday with high fives. But it only lasted a couple months due to concerns it could intimidate children of color and illegal immigrants. Sam Hopper's daughter, Dylan, had police officers come to her school for a High Five Friday. Did you like it? Yeah. Her mom liked it too, but said she understands both sides.
If they're used to having police come to their houses in negative aspects, they probably have a bad taste in their mouth about it.
The mayor and superintendent both refused to talk to us, but school committee vice chair Ed Zukowski said in an open meeting in December only one parent voiced a concern.
It hasn't been my understanding or experience that anyone thinks that positive interactions between law enforcement and youth is a bad thing. Yeah. It's just how we can make it the best for all students.
The police department said in a Facebook post concerns were shared that some kids might respond negatively to a group of uniformed officers at their school. People were specifically concerned about kids of color, undocumented children, or any children who may have had negative experiences with the police.
I think the police department wants to be a part of the community, and they are a part of the community. Pulling them away from the community, I don't think is a good thing.
Well, the city says the High Five program is on hold right now until they can figure out a way to reintroduce it that makes everybody more comfortable. But with politics right now and everything being so polarized, it could be a tough job to do. In Northampton, Massachusetts, Rob Schmidt, Fox News.
Here now to analyze Fox News anchor Martha McCallum. You see her at 7 p.m. right before the fact. So they want everybody to be comfortable, safe spaces, politically correct, snowflakes. Why don't you toughen up out there in Northampton, all right? If you didn't have the cops, the place would be overrun. I'm sorry. What say you, Martha?
The whole idea of this program was to make everybody more comfortable
with the
so that the kids would say, I know, that policeman Tom, he's my buddy. I high-five him at school every, Friday. Once a month this was.
Right.
Once a month, the police officers would come down and high-five the kids. Hey, TGIF, it's Friday. So some of the parents decided, as you heard in Rob's piece, that it might make some of the kids uncomfortable if they are children of color or if they're undocumented. Now, if anybody believes that this was going to lead to hauling one of these children out of Northampton, Massachusetts, I think that's nuts. This is a very PC community. I mean, it's home to Smith College, not far from Amherst. I mean, Northampton is not exactly a conservative bastion, as you may know.
I know there are a lot of nuts that live in that area of Massachusetts. But Northampton, I know the community pretty well. If you took a plebiscite, which is a yes or no, up and down vote on High Five Friday, 80-20.
No, you probably would get a lot of yeses. But the fact is that they're so concerned that there's just the slightest bit of consternation.
McCallum, here's my question.
O'Reilly.
Okay. When did the country allow the crazy people to take over? When did that happen? Do you have a date? Because the crazy people are now running this country. When you can't have police come in and greet the kids with a high five because somebody might be offended somewhere, no name on it, No kid crying. It's not like the cops are grabbing kids.
You know what?
All right? The kid can go around the cop. Say hi, officer. Okay?
I know.
You know, there used to be an officer, Joe Bolton, on TV here in New York City. He was on Channel 11. Okay? So, what would they cancel him because some cop watching at home might be afraid? We've lost control, McCallum.
We've lost control, and I think it's a combination of political correctness, which we're quite familiar with as an idea here, and also litigiousness, right? So the thing that's been lost.
You couldn't sue if you sued this.
And the thing that's been lost is judgment, right? So people in authority don't look at the situation and say, hold on, parents. And we don't even know, it's not even evident that there were specifically parents who were necessarily unhappy with this. It was like a suggestion that maybe somebody might be perceiving. But they don't have anyone who stands up and says, look, parent, you're being crazy. This whole idea is to improve the relationship.
I think the principal and school board chief should be arrested.
Get a spine.
No, let the police arrest them. Okay? Just arrest them. All right?
Maybe they should just give them a high five and they'll all get along a lot better.
They can have a high five in handcuffs like this. All right? And then drop the charges like 2 days later.
So sad.
Oh, we didn't really mean it. We just want to get to know you better.
It's crazy.
Northampton, Massachusetts, everybody. Not on my vacation dance card. Martha McCallum. We come right back. Miller.
One cable news show for 16 years and counting.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Miller Time segment tonight. Let's get right to the sage of Southern California who joins us from Santa Barbara. So, Miller, been watching a lot of politics this week, have you?
Billy, enough to realize that the Democrats, by complaining this much, are shooting themselves in the foot with Fat Man, Little Boy, and a rusty crossbow. So I have some predictions to make. 2020, Trump wins again. Then he turns it over in 2024 and 2028 to Vice President Pence. Then 32, 36, and let's say 40. Give her a third term. Ivanka takes over because she's so popular. And then in 44, she turns it over to now 10-year-old Barron Trump. Barron takes it up through 52. They hand it over to the Kushner kids. Now we're up to 2060, and we give it back to the Dems just to take a rest. And I guess in 2060, Hillary will still be running.
All right. What about the Bushes, though? The Bushes have got to get back in the game here. Okay. You're a high-tech guy, Miller. And there's a company that wants to sell drones to everybody or have drones deliver stuff to you. And they did a demonstration. Roll the tape.
For the photographers, we tried to do a kind of an augmented, quick, non-traditional delivery, and something went wrong. We probably shouldn't have tried something weird like that with everybody watching. But we were trying to accommodate you guys, and something went wrong.
Something went wrong, Miller, with the drones.
I'll tell you one thing about that drone. It voted for Bernie Sanders. I saw a press conference with that drone this afternoon, and he said that footage was fake news. He said that the reporters who were present made that footage up to make him look bad. And here's another thing, Billy. That's a foreign-made drone. This is a job American drones won't do anymore. I've started a protest site, #NotMyDrone. And I am wondering, how far down the road have we gone with UPS guys? They must really hate running that 8 feet up to the front door with a package that we've now gotten to the point that we're taking the UPS truck, and in the middle of a delivery, it converts over to the Disco Valente hydrofoil from the James Bond film Thunderball. I just walk it up to the door. You mean we've taken the powers of modern technology and we've gone back to carrier pigeons with it? Come on, wake up.
I like my UPS and FedEx guys. I don't want this dopey drone coming through the back door. Come on.
And I'll tell you one thing, a lot of lonely wives, housewives home alone, they're going to invite the drone in for a drink during the day.
That could lead to many problems. All right, now, there was a woman who was not happy with the way her college-age son was dealing with the garbage. Roll the tape.
Connor was surprised to receive a care package from home so soon after returning from winter break. And then when he opened it, he was really surprised.
I received a box like this, and I was expecting a bunch of food, chips, all stuff like that. And then I opened it up and saw a bunch of trash and called my mom, and we talked about it. I asked her if she sent me the wrong box, because that's how confused I was. But she said it was the right box and that I needed to be held responsible for what I didn't do.
What he didn't do is toss out his trash.
Right on. Now, that's Westminster College. I don't know where it is, but it might be in Colorado. So the mom said, hey, you try to con out of the garbage deal, I'm sending it back to your college. It's pretty good, right? I like that.
Yeah, I like that idea, Billy, but I will say this. That reporter's making a buck. Can't he get a sweater that fits better? Now listen, here's how upside down college kids are. This is how screwed up college kids are. He kept the trash and he sent the goodie box back to his mom, and he asked her for more gluten-free and locally sourced from sustainable organic farm projects. That's how beaten down the kids are. But I do agree with you. It seems like a great relationship. She seems like a good mom.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this is my great fear, Billy. You know what's coming down the road? Matriarchal drones, robot mothers. And we're not going to have this sort of communication. It'll just be Rosie from the Jetsons saying, here is your detritus, here is your detritus, here is your detritus. And I don't think that'll be good for the relationship, the familiar relationships.
All right, Dennis Miller, everybody, a quick footnote. On March 24th, Miller, Waters, and I will travel to Omaha for the Spin Stops Here live show. Next night, we'll be in the Tacoma Dome in Washington. Very few tickets remain. Check it all out on BillO'Reilly.com. Bowling and Rivera on deck. The attacks on President Trump getting even more vicious, if that's possible. The boys, straight ahead. Back in the book segment tonight, if you remember, I told you weeks ago that we would not be booking crazy political fanatics on the program except for Geraldo. In fact, during the presidential campaign, when I was in this chair, we didn't use not one surrogate for the Clinton or Trump organizations. That's because we don't want talking points unless they're delivered by me. I think we made the right call in the Zealots because now the level of viciousness toward the office of the presidency is out of control.
Trump and Pence are operating out of Hitler's playbook, only they have nuclear weapons. People better wake up, because he is more dangerous than Hitler ever could have been.
It's clear to me, and I just think the American people had better understand what's going on. This is a bunch of scumbags. That's what they are.
Let's not analyze Eric Bolling and Geraldo Rivera. So that's just out of line, right?
I think it is. It's coarse, it's crude, it's lowbrow. I think, first of all, my feelings about any kind of Hitlerian comparison is you absolutely cannot use Hitler or the Holocaust or anything unless you're talking about another Holocaust, another genocide. So it's totally out of line and it's anti-intellectual.
So I'm not even talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about the office of the presidency. See, I mean, they think they're attacking Trump, but they're really attacking the whole process by which Mr. Trump was elected and now is serving by using this kind of stuff.
2009, President Obama was elected. I went to air. I said, Obama said this, Obama said that. A good friend of mine, pulled me aside, a journalist for many years. He said, you can disagree with everything he says. You can despise every policy he's ever put forward, but call him President Obama. And from that day forward, I called him President Obama.
Right, rather than
the
Obama.
Socialist
Right.
President Obama.
Right.
But you're right. It is the office, continued respect for the office. However, 2016, this campaign, this election cycle, all bets are off. The rhetoric has been heightened.
So we have a deteriorating discourse, but I think it was bad under President Obama as well. There were a lot of right-wingers who hated him when I called him a patriot, President Obama, because I don't think that he meant the country harm. It's just that his vision for the country didn't work, in my opinion. Just didn't work and never will work. All right, but I don't think he came in as the Manchurian candidate and tried to break down the whole thing.
But you remember when Carl Palladino, who ran for governor of New York, Republican,
called a terrible name.
Compared Michelle to a jungle creature.
But by doing that, Mr. Palladino was ostracized from polite society. I'm putting forth that the one that was with Tucker.
She's a loony.
Yeah, why would I don't know.
But Maxine Waters,
she's a congresswoman,
and not only that, her constituents will probably pat her on the back.
They're not going to take it out on her.
But it does nothing to accomplish the agenda of the Democrats.
You know what it did, Geraldo? It did. It actually did. For the last 32 days or 33 days, however long President Trump has been President Trump, Trump has had this war with the media, which I think is brilliant because it's focused the attention on the media and not on what? Not on Pelosi, not on Schumer, not on Waters, not on the Democrats. They're the forgotten group. And if you know anything, you, as everyone here well knows, I don't care, say something bad about me, but just make sure you're talking about me. right? No one's talking about the Democrats until they do something like this.
But this is a desperate attempt for relevance because the Democrats, the people, the progressive side of American society, have moved away from the party. When you see those town hall meetings, that's the real Democrats. They're the small D Democrats.
Do you think
and they are the
Maxine
future.
Waters would be on the O'Reilly Factor tonight, a couple minutes before the end of the show, if she had said, "Oh yeah, that Rex Tillerson, he's I don't like him. He's a jerk."
I just say one thing that is different. Donald Trump is the most famous person of our lifetimes, at least, if not. I think he's more famous than Lincoln, than FDR. I think that Donald Trump, combining celebrity and elective office, is the most famous person on earth by far. He is going to attract a lot of very impassioned and sometimes unreasonable characterizations.
But I don't think we should give them a forum. And that's why I said that I'm not going to give them a forum. You know, think back. I used to do that. We had a guy named Jeremy Glick on who said that the 9/11 attack was orchestrated by President Bush. And I put him on and I yelled at him and slapped him around, not physically, but, and you know what I said to myself, the audience doesn't want this anymore. They see it for what it is. It's crude, as you just said. It's disrespectful to the country. And I think somebody like Maxine Waters should resign. I think she should resign. She's not competent to hold that position.
I'll take an apology. I think resignation is too much.
All right, I'll take a deportation bowling. Would you?
Maxine Waters?
Yeah.
I should probably hear legally.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you. Factor tip of the day. Factor tip of the day about money in a moment, but first, the mail. Juliette Hughes, Lyndhurst, Ohio. Bill, great job calling out Juan Williams on his traffic ticket deportation fairy tale. As I told Juan, if somebody is deported simply for getting a traffic ticket, we'll report on it immediately. Bobby Bonnet, Tyler, Texas. This American citizen wants every illegal alien removed, period. Just so you know, Bob, according to all the polling, you're at odds with the vast majority of your countrymen. Diana Scott, Warrington, Pennsylvania. O'Reilly, you berated President Obama for saying we have a lot of work to do. Then you claim falsely that President Trump thinks America's great. Shame on you for misleading the public. Shame on you, Diana, for not knowing the word inherently and what it means. I said Mr. Trump believes America is inherently a great country and wants to restore that mantle. That's a quote. And that's absolutely true. Also, I did not berate Barack Obama. Again, I reported accurately that he views the USA as a flawed nation, tried to institute profound change. It didn't work. Joseph Brady, Savannah, Georgia. If the Stiley family cannot sue legally San Francisco County, what can be done? Wasn't the federal government's fault that the criminal alien who apparently shot Kate was not incarcerated. But it was the federal government's fault. The man came back 5 times after deportation, goes to our unsecured border, and that's what the federal government's supposed to do, secure the borders. Tony Diaz, Albufeira, Portugal. Bill, you are right. President Trump needs to frame issues with facts. My son lives in Sweden and close to the Muslim suburb that erupted in violence. They call it Little Mogadishu. Nick Cieli, Bordentown, New Jersey. Bill, I must call you out. Switzerland was the home of the Red Cross. During World War II, Sweden capitulated to the Nazis. Totally false, Nick. Sweden was not run by Germany, and the Red Cross had a vibrant presence there. Dr. Richard Ross, Northridge, California. The video of children bashing a piñata that looks like the president is child abuse. I called it child neglect, doctor, because any parent allowing that is neglecting the emotional welfare of the child. Daniel Serta, Duarte, California. Let Gutfeld be Gutfeld. And who is stopping that, Dan? Donna Searles, Phelan, California. Just became a BillO'Reilly.com premium member. Didn't realize I was missing so much. In this age of Trump, PM membership, almost a must if you want to stay abreast of the situation and you want to know the truth. Ralph Sparacco, Vestal, New York. I've read all the Killing books and always think the one I'm reading at the time is the best. Enjoyed the information you shared about your dad and killing the rising sun, Bill. So glad you liked the series, Ralph. Killing Jesus comes out in paperback on March 14th in time for the Easter season. Old School, brand new book. It's not a part of the Killing series. It's funny. Released March 28th. At least we hope it's funny. And a very happy birthday to Lillian Cox, 110 years old in Stafford, Texas. Can't do all the birthdays, but 110 is 110. Way to go, Lily. Finally, tonight, factor tip of the day. Many Americans have trouble handling money. Personal debt in this country, a huge problem. So parents and grandparents, listen up. Make money a game for the kids. Encourage them to throw change into a big jar with their name on it. At the end of every month, if the kids reach a certain amount set by you, give them a Hamilton, a 10 spot. Believe me, those urchins will start saving. And we'll remember the achievement forever. Factor tip of the day. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, which is different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, we would like you to spout off about the factor from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. Word of the day, do not be a rapscallion writing to the factor. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I am Bill O'Reilly. Please remember that the spin stops here, because we are definitely looking out for you.
Like the head of that group.